I want to look at minimalistic fashion from a couple of different perspectives, which is stepping away from the sole idea of minimalistic fashion, which is buying the least amount of clothes for the lowest amount of money, but still getting the most wears out of those selected clothing items to get you through each week. Rather, just focusing on adding those minimalistic pieces to your collection. So items like clothes with solid colors, fewer graphics, and fewer patterns, stuff like that, and just adding those pieces to your collection without a limit to how many clothes you get or how much you spend. So taking away the sole idea of minimalistic fashion, but focusing on the pieces that make minimalistic fashion. The other perspective is kind of where I'm at now with my current style choice, which is transitioning from this more of traditional style of streetwear fashion. And when I say that, I mean like a style with graphic tees, brighter colors, patchwork jeans, ripped jeans, and I don't know what else to call it, so we can just go with that for this video. But moving away from this traditional style of streetwear and moving towards this more minimalistic style. But at the same time, I still have my love for the traditional side, but I just want to move into the minimalistic style because that's just where I'm at and how I want to dress with my fashion choices right now. From what I've seen, the people that's on the traditional side of streetwear, I feel like they mostly post those type of fits on their Instagram, and for the minimalistic side, they do the same thing. But for me, and I'm not saying that those people that stay on one side based on their Instagram don't, they're not in the middle of both sides. But for me, what I want to focus on for this video is kind of being like a middle ground. So still loving the traditional style, but gravitating towards that minimalistic style. So basically what I want to do is just express my ideas and where I'm coming from and why I want to move to, or why I have this transition of moving from this traditional style to this minimalistic style. So let's get straight into the video. I hope y'all enjoy. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, this is all my ideas, which is mostly opinionated, so feel free to leave how you feel about the minimalistic style or this whole topic that I'm talking about down below. So let's get straight into this video. So to make this video more organized and easier to follow, I'm going to hit on a few points: where minimalistic fashion came from, the art of minimalistic fashion, why I'm including it in my wardrobe, and the stores that I can buy these clothes from. So let's start with where minimalistic fashion came from. And the reason why I want to touch on this is just because when I'm into like a certain thing, a clothing item or a style or a designer, I want to do a little bit of research before I'm just buying it just to buy it or get into it just to get into it. So I like to have a little bit of my own knowledge before I go purchasing things that that I like or I want as far as fashion. So some of the first style of minimalistic fashion began to take notice in the 1980s, where designers like NoahEW, and sorry if I pronounced these names wrong, but I didn't practice them before I started recording. So NoahEW, Rei Kawakubo, and Yesi Makaki. And like I said, sorry if I pronounced those names wrong, which I probably did. I probably messed it all the way up, but I apologize. But Rei and Issei, being the founders of Comme des Garçons, all of these designers favored this all-black look with deconstructed garments with a focus on oversized silhouettes at Paris Fashion Week in 1980. Really taking all that simplicity that characterized Japanese fashion culture. And after this really basically paved the way for other designers around the world. So in Europe, you have designers like Helmut Lang, and you have Martin Margiela and Jill Sander. In the United States, you have Calvin Klein and Donna Karan that also took in that look as well. So it sounds like basically the Japanese culture really paved the way for these designers, and eventually that's how it started, and not how we got where we are today, because I don't know about that for sure, but it basically started this idea of minimalistic fashion, and as you can see, we have the style of our own today. But I will say, as far as those designers, the Japanese designers in today, how that correlates, I do see a lot of Comme des Garçons when people are going for this more minimalistic look. I see a lot of their shoes, their clothes and stuff like that, especially when they're going for the all black look. So I will say those two things do correlate, which is kind of cool. I think one of the more interesting things about, transitioning from this traditional style of streetwear into this more minimalistic style is that it's been kind of a mental journey as well. I say this because as I'm getting older, I feel myself, gravitating or having more of a love for, the simpler things, and not only a love for it, but knowing that it can still get the job done and I can still pull off a great fit with, simpler colors, simpler prints, graphics, materials, and stuff like that. I feel like it does the same job, if not more, than, that traditional traditional style that I previously and still do love. You know, those crazier items are not the only thing that amuses me anymore. You know, it's like the older I get, you know, the more older I feel, where, you know, I'm liking these simpler things. So that's just how it is. That's just, you know, how I'm growing up. Now, the physical side of this is how minimalistic pieces can be so beautiful without doing too much. The movement of the garment, the volume and proportions of the garment, the quality of the garment, the color choice. You have texture combinations, which all these aspects or factors of these pieces make up for a real elegant and beautiful piece. And I feel as though that these aspects don't only make for a look or a piece that's really pleasing, but it's also extra important to the buyer or the consumer to feel like they're getting a very special or a piece that's, you know, has been very thought of. You know, designers has really thought of the process of being made, the ideas behind it. It really adds to, you know, the idea of getting a special piece, even though these pieces are more on the simpler side, and especially when you're just looking at it from afar or at first glance. You know, compared to the crazier pieces with crazy graphics, prints, textures, and all that, those things pretty much do the talking and can catch people's eye off first glance, unlike these simpler pieces. You know, the aspects that I named before, these things aren't noticeable, you know, as soon as you look at the garment. You really have to look, or you have to, you know, ask your questions about the garment. But when these things are done extremely well, these pieces are very elegant, and, you know, you have these amazing pieces. And I think one of the coolest things about, you know, this side of more simpler items is how, from the naked eye or just looking at these pieces at first glance, like I keep saying, you know, they might look like your average pieces from your day-to-day stores that you see like on a regular, like at the mall and stuff like that. You might think they're your regular garments or items, but in reality, these pieces might be a collab that's not as hyped or not as talked about. You know, they might have a special material that's pretty settled, but, you know, it's like imported from Japan, or it doesn't get used as much. It might have a unique shape or silhouette. So basically, all those aspects that I named before, you know, these make up for these special pieces. I think it's cool when you have these special items that, you know, look regular, but they're actually very special. And I think sometimes knowing that, you know that, but, you know, you might get that one person like say you wear the piece 100 times, but out of those 100 times, only one person noticed that, you know, it was a special collab or what that item is specifically. I think that's pretty special and really cool, you know, and that's why I really enjoy these minimalistic pieces instead of just these traditional style of pieces. And I know that these pieces will be more than these average items that look similar, but, you know, as you get into fashion and where I'm at right now, I would rather pay for, you know, a little bit more money for these pieces that are a little bit more special. And that doesn't mean I'm going to buy these pieces every week or every chance I get, because it's not financially smart. But when I do get a chance, that's what I go towards. And on the other side, if you do get these items from, you know, your stores at the mall, that's completely fine too. It's just preference, and I'm not, you know, picking on one side and we're judging the other side. That's just where I'm at with my fashion style. So yeah, but going back to following the script, these crazier pieces pretty much have the ability to have, you know, special textures, materials and stuff like that too. But as I was saying, the graphics or the prints, you know, that can be noticeable from afar. But these simpler items is more important because it's pretty much the only thing that's making these pieces special. Without these prints and graphics, that can't be more easier noticed or noticed more easier. And, you know, those subtle details can really, really make these garments special. So as I was saying, like before, you know, the way I've like submerged myself into fashion, you know, really been educating myself. Every time I go out, I pretty much want to, you know, feel good in what I'm wearing. Rather, I'm running to the store in some sweats or wearing a full suit. But, you know, with the lack of these minimalistic items, I don't have the ability to go out every time and really enjoy what I'm wearing. Like I said, even if it's just sweats, because that's just where I'm at with my fashion style right now. And the pieces I do have, you know, they're not my style. They're from brands that I don't really enjoy anymore. So what I want to do is really just replace those items with, you know, these clothing items that, you know, that I do enjoy, and still have the ability to go out and wear what I enjoy, even though it's just you know, a t-shirt or some sweat. So buying these minimalistic pieces will give me that ability to really put on something I'm really enjoying. I do have some pieces now that I can pull off and that I do enjoy wearing, such as this is a vintage Russell athletic hoodie. So this is something that I would rather wear than, you know, a hoodie from H&M. Like I keep saying, you know, if you do buy stuff from H&M, that's completely fine, because, you know, I still like the brand H&M I wouldn't prefer it. So it's just preference. So now, as far as my second point in this subtopic is really combining these minimalistic pieces with, a crazier item. So say you have a vintage all over graphic tee and you pair it with some solid black or solid khaki pants from, say, Carhartt or Dickies, or vice versa, you have some crazy patchwork jeans or whatever it is and you pair it with a solid white tee or a solid outwear piece, a solid color outwear piece. So having these minimalistic pieces will give me a chance to really balance out my fits and really let my shirt do the talking or my pants do the talking, and really have a balance towards that fit. The focal point of that fit can be the shirt. I can let the shirt really do the talking, like I said, or let the pants be the focal point of that fit. Or even if I have accessories, I could put on like an all white fit, all black fit, or a fit with some earth tones, and really let the jewelry, if I have jewelry, glasses, or I want to pop on a hat that's a brighter or unique color, I can let the accessory do the talking as well. So I feel like these minimalistic pieces will expand my style and my wardrobe even more than what I have already. So finally, the stores that I am going to recommend are pretty much all or most of my shopping preferences, and I will get more into that as we go on into these store recommendations. So the first one being vintage stores. The stores that I have found have been like more so online, because I don't think, or at least I haven't looked hard enough, but where I live, we don't have that many options of vintage stores in my area. So I have found a lot of vintage sites. So these sites basically offer a lot of vintage blanks, so hoodies, crew necks in these solid colors. Some of them may have more of an age look to them, so they do offer these solid colored garments, and then they do offer a lot of bottoms such as raw denims, and even as far as like outwear pieces, they do have a lot of raw denim Levi's or whatever the brand may be, but they do offer a lot of outwear pieces that fit that niche of minimalism as well. So you can find a lot of good items from these stores, especially if they have a very, very high inventory. Now, I also will put all these stores in the description, so you're not all on your own, of course. So you do have these vintage sites, and also when you do find this item, you are getting a pretty rare or unique item, because it'll be pretty hard to find that exact same item again, seeing as though these pieces were all the way from the 90s, the 80s, or so forth. So you're getting a pretty rare and unique item, which is pretty special. So the second place that I do enjoy shopping are sustainable brands, and although I haven't actually purchased something yet, I do want to when I do get clothing items, purchase something from these sites. Sustainable brands or sustainable websites that you can get clothes from are pretty much the best kept secret, if you ask me, because they don't get talked about nearly as much as other brands, but they do offer a lot of high quality items. And like I said, these items are going to be obviously minimalistic items that solid colors, less graphics, less prints and stuff like that. But some of the pieces you do find, or all the pieces that you do find will be high quality. And some of these brands may offer, pieces on the unique side. So you just got to make sure you look, you see what you can find, of course, with these brands. So next time I'm going shopping, I'm definitely going to look into these brands more. I do have some brands saved, but like I said, I haven't purchased something yet. So yeah, sustainable brands are definitely a good place to find these minimalistic items. Sustainable brands definitely on a pricier, the most expensive option out of these three options. I have one more. So the last one being small brands. I haven't found like one small brand yet that's solely or have strictly what's the word? Minimalistic pieces, but for the ones that have a larger inventory, you can find pieces that they do offer that do fit that minimalistic niche. So like I said, you just gotta do your digging with all these sites and with these small brands, and you can find pieces that do fit that minimalistic niche. And when you do find these pieces, that these designers or brands really enjoy what they're making. They put that extra effort into what they're making, and they may offer, or most of the time they do offer, something you won't get from your average stores. So that's also cool about these brands as well. So that'll pretty much do for this video. I hope you all enjoy where I was coming from, expressing my ideas from transitioning from these fashion styles. So hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Make sure in the comments you let me know how you feel about everything I was talking about. If you agree, if you disagree, make sure you just stay respectful, because that's just it's better to be respectful and stay positive. We don't need none of that negative energy. You already have enough of that. So hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, make sure you do all of it, like and subscribe and all that. But that pretty much do for this video. I'm out.